My hat on these sticks of pulp will give you an idea of the size of this material. Again, it's taken down to 4 or 5 inches, so we've got pretty tight utilization on an otherwise trees that would otherwise just be ignored. Being able to remove this material allows us to create better conditions for regeneration and provide some good growing space to saw timber trees that are remaining in the area. I can remember in the 70s when I first started practicing forestry, there was no market around here at all for this material. So we do have better markets today for more products. I wish the pricing was a little better, but I think that's just a reflection of the overall hardwood pulp pile here. Again, you can see a lot of these trees have hollow centers. These trees tend to be pretty crooked, stunted trees and have only a potential to grow into bigger firewood or hardwood pulp, and that's the reason we've harvested those. Here's our hardwood saw logs. Again, you can see the relative size comparing it to my hat. This is not prime hardwood country on these particular soils, so these aren't representative of the best hardwood we can grow in the area, although they're okay. I would just say they're a little bit below average in quality. Here are our hemlock saw logs. This is a species that's actually increased in value over the last couple of years. A lot of this material ends up going to Canada, and over the last couple of years the market price for hemlock has basically doubled from what it historically was. It's not the most valuable commercial species in the area, but it does have more value than it did have over the last few years. Here's our white pine saw logs. Most of the saw logs that we're cutting in here are on the small size. Again, we're concentrating on pulpwood and trees that really have to be cut at this time, not necessarily just cutting big trees in here. This is pretty good white pine country around here. These are pretty good logs right here. They're relatively small, knotted, smooth logs. Not huge in diameter, but their overall quality for lumber is pretty good. This is the harvest on the Deland forest. This particular section was a tract that NEFF acquired back in the mid-1990s, and it was actually cut for development purposes, not for forestry purposes. We're going through and harvesting a lot of the hemlock that was logged around back 20 years or so ago, and also picking up some of this white pine that you can see on the screen now that has past skidder damage. They had a very heavy harvest of white pine in here and was kind of indiscriminate as to tree selection and road location, so we're trying to salvage the value out of these trees as much as possible. I expect the first 8 feet of this tree would only be valuable for pulp, but might have one saw log after that and then more pulp in the top. If we don't cut this tree now, it'll continue to decline in quality. However, there are some like this that have obvious wildlife use, particularly pileated woodpeckers, so those are marked with a W and will hang on to those. You see on the wounding pattern on this tree that there was 2 separate logging operations here in the past, probably 10 or 15 years apart, the more recent of which put the large scar on the tree. Then as I zoom in towards the base, you'll see the callus ridge from the earlier operation there. Looks like the second operation was a little bit heavier and maybe a little more careless use of the skidder because of the size of the scarring on the tree. The earlier one, the smaller scar, that's kind of tolerable on the pine tree on the inside of a curve on a skid road, but this amount of scarring is kind of extreme and does a lot of damage to the trees. We try to avoid that. This tree's going to be cut for that reason. It'll decline in quality pretty quickly now.